I can create here. The magic is here. The magic is now. I will deal with the future when the future comes. I have to be in the present because this is the only space that creation exists. All right. Hey guys, and welcome back to another Limitless conversation. I am your host, Sean, and here we talk about all things like evolution, growth, understanding your limits so that you can be your best limitless self. As creators, we can create anything. Our possibilities are limitless, but we do have these limits that our human mind puts on us. And so it's really important for me to like really sit with what are those limits, because as a human you're here to explore and understand. It was a funny conversation I was having with my mom the other day about that, but that's literally an episode in itself. Okay, like getting rid of your human mind that wants to understand and comprehend, and just being in your pure creator spirit body that just enjoys. So, anyway, though, or doesn't feel like it has to learn a lesson. That's the big thing. I'm coming out of learning lessons, just being, just experiencing. So yeah, that's like kind of where I am now. So I feel like we'll dive more into that on season 2. But we're wrapping up the last few episodes of season 1, and you guys, for the last 3 episodes, I want to say, it was the last 3. I believe it was the last 3 episodes. You guys have been following me along my journey of my apartment and really the bigger picture of what the apartment meant to me. And I'm here with an update, y'all. It's about probably 2 weeks later after that video, after my last video I shot, or maybe a week or so later. I took some time off because I just wanted to just sit and be still. And so, really exciting news, you guys. I did get approved for my next apartment. Yay! So excited about this new chapter of my life. Like, I can't even express enough how excited I am about where I'm going in my life, the direction that I'm going. And so I'm really, really excited about that. And I want to talk, everything starts with a story. So every episode, something happens, which ignites some kind of change and evolution within me, and a reminder of sorts. This was a reminder. This isn't my first time hearing this, you know, this isn't my first time getting this reminder, but I wanted to share it. Oh, sorry, Mike. I wanted to share it because it was literally really, really beautiful. And I'm watching myself. So I got my approval on a Friday. And I got the approval. I was so excited about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm approved. Woo! Like, I'm going to have my next space. I'm not going to immediately move into the space. There's going to be a little bit of time in between me moving out of here and moving into my new space. But I'm excited because I have a plan, right? There's somewhere I know that I'm going to go at some point, right? So I'm really excited about it. I noticed that throughout that day, I was just super excited. I was in a really, really good mood. I did have moments where I was kind of like trying to debunk this thing, trying to do my thing. But for the majority, I was very, very happy. That following day, I was, okay. I was neutral. I wasn't really happy, wasn't sad. And the next day, out of nowhere, I started going, oh my gosh, I need to, like, now that I've been approved for this one, I need to look at other places that could possibly be options in case for whatever reason this falls through. I'm talking fast because this is how my mind was going. I was like, I need to look at other places in case this falls through. Now that I've been approved, I know I'll get approved. So I need to apply for other places. I need to look at other options. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I need to explore. I need to make sure. And my mind's kind of racing. So then I start, getting back on my hunt, calling all of these different places, seeing what they have available. Um, you know, Going through that, which this has been a process I have been going through for the past 2 to 3 months, you guys, and it's a very tiring process. Touring and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot. So, yeah, I'm calling all these places or whatever. And I probably called maybe about 3 or 4 places that were on my list already previously, just to check and see if anything had become available. And so I took a moment after I was like I was so manic. I was feeling very anxious. I was fearful in that moment that what I had just was so excited about 2 days ago was going to fall through. was now in fear and angst. And I told myself that this was my intuition. I had told myself that, okay, Sean, remember, because you guys, I think I've talked about it in another episode. Remember how I was telling you guys, God told me when things was about to kind of mess up here and that I needed to make a move. And I didn't. So now I'm in this space of being hyper focused on my intuition and listening when I get the first message. And so I was really, really frantic. And I'm like, this is my intuition talking to me. It's telling me that this is going to fall through. And I need to make sure that I'm ahead of things. I need to get ahead of things. I'm in the future, right? Anxiety comes when you're too far in the future. And depression comes when you're too far in the past, where you're too much in the past. There is no anxiety, there is no depression in the present. So I'm very far in the future, right? Because my move-in date is 60 days out. So in my mind, anything could happen between now and those 60 days. There was a ton of pressure on myself as like I was having these are the conversations I was having with myself. What if I make a wrong decision? What if I am not showing up for my content and my podcast and spirit's mad at me for not showing up and I only got this reward because I had been a good girl, and now if I don't show up, I'm going to think it's going to be taken away from me? Or what if I make a bad decision in my dating life? What if I'm supposed to stay here? What if I'm supposed to leave here and I don't make a right choice? What if I all these thoughts are happening about every way that I could somehow mess this thing up and not get this result that I had literally been working my arse off to get for the last 3 to 4 months. Everything is going through my mind of how things are going to fail and not work out. And I'm anxious and I'm calling this my intuition. My intuition is telling me that I need to look at other options. My intuition is telling me that I need to look at that I need to not put all of my eggs in one basket. I put my eggs in one basket before and that failed me. And living in the past. And so after all of that was going on in my mind, I felt myself getting anxious. So I said, I'm going to make me some tea. Tea is a huge, huge thing for me. I love, 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 love tea. It is one of those things I put it on, I drink it, and it just brings me to the present moment. It just calms me down. It makes me be still. And so I made me some tea. I'm sitting drinking my tea. Everything starts to just slow down. And I realize that I am not in my God mind right now. I'm in my I mind. And funny enough, moving forward, I think it's like maybe I kind of like slowed down a bit that day. I realized what was happening, but I hadn't fully come to the understanding of what exactly was happening. But that day, I had to put up content. I'm like, I need to put together a video. I need to put together some content. Let's see what I have. 'Cause I record a lot of content, but I don't post it. So I'm like, I mean, I do post it, and I'm doing a lot better. But I have content that I haven't posted that I've recorded. So I'm like, okay, let me look through some of these montage like clips I have, and so I can put together for a video today. And so there's this video of me doing yoga, and I'm like, oh, let me put this together. So I put the video together. Now it's time to do a voiceover. Well, I do the voiceover first, but I'm looking at what I have in the content wise. I had a clip of me doing yoga, a clip of me doing my hair, and then I had a clip of me in the car listening to this book. Now, I hadn't replayed that clip yet about what the book was saying, but the message that I had been, like I told you guys, I had been drinking my tea and it was just like, slow down, slow down. And so I closed my eyes, started the voice recording, and maybe I'll actually play the voice recording for you guys because I said it as beautifully as I could in that clip. And I could try to recreate it, but let me just actually share it as is. If I can find it. Here we go. Okay, listen. I've been slowing down lately. And when I say slowing down, it's because my mind has been racing with all of these moving parts in my life. My mind has been racing and moving so fast that I am being reminded of the beauty of just, you gotta cool it down. You gotta slow it down, slow it down. Mm-mm. You about to lose control. Like, for real. That's funny that that song just came through, but yeah, I've been learning to just slow down before making choices, before making decisions. being aware, like observing what is my energy when I'm making decisions. Am I making this choice from a frantic place? Am I making this choice from a fear based place? Am I making this choice from a lack based place? Where is my intention coming from? And if it's coming from any of those spaces, I need to slow down and say, I'm already good. Everything is already okay. I'm already full. I'm full. And I don't need a lesson in am I fullness or not. I'm full. I'm good. And then slow myself down to now move with the energy of I am already abundant. I am already. It's like this is something you just have to experience. I've heard people say it and I didn't really understand it, but okay, I'm gonna pause it right there. So that happened when I was drinking the tea and I was slowing down. I moved into the observer mode of my life. Nothing was factual, nothing was truth, nothing was as is. I moved into the mode of where are these thoughts coming from? Because I had to take note that literally 2 days ago, I was, cause I'm happy, clap along. If like I was so happy. I'm so happy, baby. I was happy. And so just 2 days passed. And when I say that nothing had changed, see, that was the thing is that nothing had changed. There was no big news. There was no shift. There was no anything. It was just 2 regular days, just 2 regular average days that had passed. And I went from extremely happy to now being frantic. So when I realized that that was actually a pretty big shift, Sean, in how you're feeling, where did that come from? Where the heck did that come from and what is it about? So I moved into observer mode. I slowed down, drank my tea, and I said, okay, I believe that I'm going to do something wrong. I believe that somehow this is not going to come through for me. I believe that well, let me not say I believe. I am moving as if something is going to go wrong. I am moving in fear. I am moving in angst. I am moving assuming that things aren't going to work out for me. And why am I thinking that? Why do I feel like that? Where is that coming from? You literally worked your arse off to get this thing. Why do you still not feel worthy enough? See, it's not about your work ethic. It's not about how hard you work to get something. That definitely does help. That definitely does help. But I'm saying like I had worked hard and I still didn't feel like I deserved this. The issue is that I got that good news and I didn't feel like I deserved it. And so I've talked a lot about, the mistakes I've made here in my apartment. And this is why I think it's really beautiful to journal. I'm trying to walk you guys through this the best way I can. This is why I think it's really beautiful to journal because I didn't feel like I deserved it because of the mistakes that I had made here. Even though I know that I will not make those same mistakes again. I've learned, I've grown, I've evolved. I will never put myself in this kind of a situation again. So even though I know that, it wasn't enough because I didn't understand how I got here. The thing is, hindsight is always 2020. Looking back at things, you can always see things that you could have done better because you already I don't want to say suffer the consequences of it, but in a way, you've already suffered the consequences of it. So you obviously can think back now, okay, I would have not gone through this if I would have made this choice, if I would have made this decision, if I would have moved this way, if I would have listened, if I would have done this or whatever. You think to yourself, like, okay, I could have totally avoided this. Right. But that's because you have now gone through the consequence. You have now learned. But what I needed to do was I needed to go back and read my journals. And this is why I love journaling. Something just said, go back and read your old entries, Sean. You need to understand where Sean was a year ago, where Sean was when she made these decisions. Sean of a year ago is not the same Sean of today. So you cannot hold yourself to the standard of Sean today and punish yourself for decisions that Sean of a year ago made. Sean of 3 months ago made. Sean of 4 months ago. Sean of last week made. You're not the same person. So I sat back and I read my journal entries and I was looking through how I so desperately needed my own space. And I even wrote in my journals like the things that I was willing to endure to have my own space. And then I wrote down the importance of why I needed my own space, how I didn't necessarily feel safe in the environments that I was in. Or I didn't, and I felt like this is like mentally, this is based on intuitive things that I have been getting. This is based on a few different things, and I'm not going to go into them, but I'll just say I didn't feel, I wasn't operating in my best self, right? Wasn't being authentic to me. I was surviving. I was in like survival mode to an extent. And so when I decided to get my own place, it's because I needed that. I needed my own space so that I could authentically be me, because there's nothing like having your own space and making decisions for yourself. You don't have to please anybody else. You don't have to try to play nice to keep a roof over your head. You don't have to agree to things you don't want to do. And so, having understood that, I made the decision to come here. Although it wasn't the best, I wasn't in the best situation financially. It wasn't the smartest decision looking back, but it was the decision that I needed to make, because in that moment, I just needed to be in my own space. I needed that. And so when I look back at my journal entries and I dropped back into the space, this has been really big for me lately, is dropping back into spaces when I'm trying to like understand. I had to drop back into Sean a year and a few months ago now at this point, and see where her head was. And then when I saw where her head was and I remembered and I dropped back into that space, I said, oh, yes, that's why I made this choice. That's why I made these decisions. Okay. Okay. So I do deserve this place, this next place, because I just deserve it. That's number one. I just deserve it. I just deserve it. But number two, I've grown, I've evolved, I've learned. I'm not gonna make the same choice that I made back then. And I understand why I made the choice that I made back then. Sometimes we can beat up on ourselves for decisions that we made a long time ago, or in the past, because now we understand the repercussions of that decision. But we have to understand that back then we didn't know. We didn't know until we knew. And so when I stopped beating up on myself, and I'm constantly working on forgiving myself for the mistakes that I made, because I have to understand that I wasn't in the same mind frame. So as I remember that, I forgave myself. It's okay, Shauna, you made a decision. This is where you were. You're not there anymore. You've evolved, and we're going to grow, and we're going to move forward. You don't deserve to continue to be punished. You don't deserve to keep trying to learn a lesson. Like, you're good. You're good. And so I had to also self-soothe. There's this thing I think they call it when you parent yourself, and when you self-soothe yourself, it's important. These are like when your affirmations come in. Like, I know I do things like hug myself all the time. Like, I love you. It's okay. So I began to now I understood. So how the process worked is I understood, like, okay, I went through my emotions. I was frantic, anxious. Okay, I'm anxious right now. Why am I anxious? Get curious. Why am I anxious? Okay, cool. I'm operating in fear. Okay, I'm anxious because I feel like this is gonna fail. Why do I feel like it's gonna fail? Oh, I believe I don't deserve it. I believe I don't deserve it. Why do I believe I don't deserve it? Oh, okay, because of this. How do I debunk that? I don't deserve it because I messed up here. So you're human. You get a chance to make mistakes. I don't know if anyone else feels this, but if you hold yourself up to this perfect standard, like I have with myself, like I can't make mistakes, I can't mess up, I can't fumble, I have to always be perfect. No, no, it's impossible. You cannot be perfect except for your actual perfection, but not perfect by the standards of whatever the world says or whatever you have built up to be perfect. You're perfect in your imperfections. Your imperfections is what makes you perfect. And I know that seems so cliche, but really and truly. So, yeah, it's okay, Sean, that you made a mistake. We're gonna move forward. We're not gonna continue to punish ourselves. We're not gonna continue to beat up on ourselves. We're not gonna continue to live in the past, because then that's when I began believe that I started to have a little bit of a depressive moment. I won't say that I was in a depression. I had a little bit of a depressive moment. And so I'm like, okay, I'm living in the past. I'm too focused on what I did in the past. We have this moment right here. And what am I going to decide right here? Right here, right now. So that's when I started to affirm myself. Sean, I deserve this. I am good enough for this. I am amazing. And my biggest one is it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I was waiting on the other shoe to drop. That's why I said I was waiting on the other shoe to drop. Like, that's a way that I have lived. When good things happen, I'm waiting on them to fall through. When good things happen, I'm waiting on the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for the bad news to follow it. That's not my reality anymore. That's a version of a reality that you can have and that I had and lived in for a very long time. Because you think about polarity and, the good, the bad. You always think about that, right? And I'm not saying that those things don't exist. How you navigate them is different, right? Your perspective of everything is how you live your life. So with me affirming myself, it's okay. It's okay. You deserve this. You're amazing. You're awesome. You are worthy of this. You've learned, you've grown. You're amazing, Sean. And the biggest one, like I said, was just it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Everything's okay. Everything is okay. Nothing is gonna. Everything is okay. Things were too quiet and too still. See, I got that good news, and it's like you've reached this peak of this. Like you work really hard for something, and then you get that result, and then it's like, what next? So I think that's kind of also, I think there's so many factors that played into it. My worthiness played into it. Yes. I think there is something that happens when you're working towards a goal and you hit that goal. And then now you're just like, okay, what's next? Right. And then being in that stillness, as people who are creatives are always looking for the next thing, the next being in that stillness is like an uncomfortable place because if you don't, wow, okay. So I'm kind of getting like kind of like a roller coaster or like momentum of any sort, right? It's like if you're going up, you're going up, you're going up, you reach this peak. If you don't decide to go forward, right, then that roller coaster is going to drift back. So I would reach this peak, and because I didn't have another peak or anything I wanted to work on and focus on, or just something about going forward, my mind started to drift back. It started to go backwards. Like, okay, how is this going to fail? How is this not going to work out? It started to go into all of those different things because I didn't have a next thought. I didn't have everything had been literally waiting for this very moment here. And I'm not saying that it's not okay to be still and it's not okay to um take a breather or it's not okay to not have a next goal. I think that's also okay. But I had to know that that is where I was, If you're going to decide I'm going to hit this goal, I'm going to take a moment of stillness, then stillness is also your next goal. And so because I had no goal and no direction after I had reached that peak, then I started to drift back down. Um so I hope that made sense. But that knowledge in my head was really helpful just now. So anyway, yeah, today I just wanted to share that number one, most importantly, what I wanted to share and want, to talk about in this episode is that it's okay to not continue to punish yourself, to not continue to speak bad to yourself, because you have to understand that you of today is not the same you that made those decisions that maybe you're beating up on yourself about. If you think about maybe like say what's another good example? Say like we have to understand that we go into fight or flight mode as humans. When we our ultimate goal is to get our needs met. We have needs that we want met. We want stability, right? We want love. We want understanding. We have these needs that we want met. And so when a need is not being met, or we perceive that it's not being met, then we will do anything. A lot of times we will do a lot of things that maybe wouldn't agree with hindsight to get that need met. So say you're in a relationship and you step out of your relationship, maybe you weren't feeling the passion and you needed that passion. You needed that connection. Maybe your person is emotionally checked out of your relationship and you need that emotional connection. You're going to go out to get that need met. Right. And that's where you begin to learn discipline, which is another conversation. We kind of talked about episode 1. That's when you begin to learn discipline so you can find out how to feed that need in a healthy way. But when you're not at your peak healthiness, right? Or when you have moments, because we'll have them, when you're not at your most healthy, then you're going to just try to get the need met the fastest, most efficient, easiest way that you can get it met, right? Because you're not seeing bigger picture. And that's okay, because it's part of how life works. We don't always have the answers all the time. Sometimes the answer's not revealed until we go through the things, right? And so that's the number one thing I want everyone to take away from this. And I took away from this conversation with myself and this moment that I had is that I don't have to keep beating up on myself. Number two, be present. Be present. Get out of the future. Get out of the past. Be present right now. What is true right now? Because see, I was so worried about in the future what could happen that could fail. I'm anxious. I'm worried about how that could fall through in the future. Now I'm not being present. Now I'm anxious. I'm worried about how I messed up in the past. Now I'm too far in the past. Now I'm being depressed. Now I'm getting depressed. How do you live in the moment? I'm going to take a moment to just sit with that, because I don't know, that question's coming up, and I want to dive and see what source, spirit, universal knowledge has to say about it. How do you just be present? Because it's like you hear it all the time. You hear it all the time, just be present, just be present. It's like, okay, but when your mind is, okay, all right, okay. I don't know if this is quite the answer yet, but I'm gonna talk it through. So what I'm getting is number one, they gave me my meditation I did this morning. Every so often when I feel like I'm having a hard time slowing down, I make myself sit in silence for 10 minutes. I set an alarm on my phone, sit still for 10 minutes. And what I do in that time is I don't try to quiet my mind. I just sit with my mind. So today, like this week, I hadn't really been having a ton of like any kind of crazy thoughts. It's just been pretty normal. Like just just like my birthday is coming up. I don't know when this episode, probably last time my birthday would be far gone at this point. But yeah, I've just kind of been planning that. And, so that's where my mind has been. But it hasn't been anything crazy lately. So I just sat and quiet and just looked at what thoughts came up. Don't attach to the thoughts. How do you not attach to the thoughts? Because you understand that these thoughts are stemming from something that's just an illusion, that's not really real, right? I was attached to the thought of me failing, so now I'm a failure. No, I'm not a failure. Not a failure. That's not my identity. I had a perceived failed moment. It's like that post where they're like, good days, bad days, and you have a ton of good days, and there's a few red dots with bad days. You you didn't have a bad life, you had a bad day. So you don't attach to those moments that you're having, um, because they're a blip in literally a grand scheme of goodness. Even if you have a bad, even if you have a bad circuit, you're like, man, I had a really bad 5 years. You are living for I'm 28. I've lived for 28 years. You've lived for 40 years. You've lived for 50 years. Maybe you've had a bad 5 years. That's five of 50. Okay. So being present. Okay. It's coming back to being present. You get in the now by realizing that your thoughts that you're having are not in the now. That's how you get in the now. What can I do? Sometimes, okay, thank you. What I do sometimes when I'm noticing I'm not being present, I'll just start rambling about what the hell is actually happening. So right now, if I need to be present, I'd be like, I'm filming a podcast. I'm sitting in my home. Um, I'm relaxed. I am scrolling on TikTok. I'm driving a car. I'm going to the store. Like, what am I presently doing? And that always brings me back to the moment every time. Present. What's happening right now? Okay. That thing didn't fall through yet. And it won't. I'm not gonna say yet, like it's an inevitable thing. That thing didn't fall through. I'm not making that decision I made in the past. Right? I just like start literally rambling out things that are currently happening. And that always helps bring me back to present time. I acknowledge that what I'm what I'm creating right now is not based in it's not based in right now. I can create here. The magic is here. The magic is now. So say you're like, um, say say you have a goal and you're hyper focused on the goal because the goal's in the future. Say your goal is for right now. Say my goal is to start a podcast, right? My personal goal. I can't be focused on like, oh my God, what if I put this out and it doesn't do well and da 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 da. Nope, that's in the future. Right now, I'm filming an episode. I will deal with the future when the future comes. I have to be in the present because this is the only space that creation exists. Thank you for that. So that's number 2 of what I wanted to share in this message. I don't know if there's a third one I'm going to see. So number 1, not beating up on yourself about, past, and, number 2, being present in the now. And I would say that really number 3, because I like 3. There needs to be a third. Number 3 would be, I had it and I forgot it actually. Wow. And another one came up. I don't know. Okay, I guess I'll share it. Number 3 would be practice self-soothing. Practice self-soothing. This is how you reprogram your mind. This is how you realign your life. This is how you realign your energy. You practice self-soothing. That's how you fill your cup up. That's how you. Oh, that's actually hard to say because of what I will talk about in another episode. But that's because you're never empty. You're never empty. You're never not good enough. And that's why it's important to sit back and say, why do I believe this about myself? Oh, I believe that that people don't love me. Why? Oh, because I didn't feel love from my parents. Oh, why? Oh, because she was always working all the time. Oh, well, why was she working all the time? Oh, because she was a single mom. Oh, so that wasn't about you. It was a podcast that I was listening to. I'm going to just say this and I'm going to wrap this episode up. But I don't remember. I think it was called The Diary of a CEO. I believe that's what it was called. I don't know what episode it was. I wish I could remember, but he said kids are narcissists. It's like literally children are narcissists. We think that everything is about us when we were a kid. Everything's about us. Like it's not. It's literally the number 1 book I recommend every single time to everyone is The 4 Agreements. Things are really not about you. People really don't give a fuck about you like you think they do. They don't. You have a hyper focus on yourself. That's why you believe that everything and everybody really gives a fuck when they don't. Your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your friends, they're not there. Whatever. It's not about you. It's not about you. They have their own shit going on in their minds. It's never about you. Even your own fucking thoughts are not about you. Isn't that crazy? My perceived thought of me not deserving this because I made a mistake, because I believe that I can't make mistakes. Why can't I? Oh, because I was trying to be I was trying to be perfect. Because I have this perception that if I'm perfect, I'll be loved, but I was never not loved. I was always loved. I believed I wasn't loved because of how I thought that love looked. But who told me how love looked? Now I'm older, I get to redefine what it looks like for me. What I'm saying is that everything can be debunked because there's not a universal way to do anything. There's not one way to do anything. There's not one way to love. There's not one way. There can be preferences, right? But you believing that you did not deserve love because you weren't given love, why would your value exist in someone else's hands? So that's the third one. And that's it for today's conversation. I don't know if this will be the finale to the season. Will it be? I don't think so. I think I might have another episode or 2 in me. I want to do 8. I think so far I've filmed 5. I think that this is 5 or 6. But yeah, that's it. I am, as always, grateful, number one, for spirit, for myself, for being present here, for talking, for sharing, for opening up. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful. Yeah. I'm grateful for you all for showing up to tune in. I hope that you got to expand with me today. I hope that we got to evolve together today. I hope that you got something from this, even if you liked or didn't like what I said. If you like what I said, it brought you closer to your truth. If you didn't like what I said, it still brought you closer to your truth because contrast also brings you closer to your truth. So that's it. It's been lovely, you guys. As always, you can follow me on all my social media. It is all at authentically Sean, and that's gonna be on. Not I'm not on Twitter. It's gonna be on Instagram. It's gonna be on TikTok. It's gonna be on YouTube, and I'm thinking I'm gonna also be on Pinterest. Yeah, I think that's where it's also gonna be too, and on Facebook. Yeah. So that's it, lovely beauties. I will chat with you all in another limitless conversation. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. And I wish I had a catchy outro, but I don't. Don't forget to continue expanding. Know that you are the creator. You are a creator, and you can create whatever the hell you want. You just got to understand where the hell your box is. What are your limits, and how can you bust out of those? All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.